but I totally agree with the sentiment. Yeah. Gordon Ramsay's a good one too, but I feel like Gordon Ramsay probably doesn't like. I bet you if you go back 3 months after like he left, those restaurants have failed anyways.
Probably.
Like how many of them like actually like, oh, thanks Gordon. Now that you came here, we're like a successful business. We're raking in the money, and our family is no longer in turmoil.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Jake Weston. Welcome back to another episode of Brews and Bruise Reviews, the show of cold drinks and even colder takes. So this is part 2 of episode 3, the NBA playoff episodes with Liam Riley, where we go over regular season awards, make our predictions for the first round of the playoffs, and more. If you haven't seen that first video, make sure to go check it out. You can find the link to that video in the description. Now, I know it's getting late and we're through the first round at this point. Not to fret, a lot of this stuff is still relevant as we go over regular season awards, as well as do a deep dive on the career achievements of number 5 all-time NBA assists leader and current point guard of the Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul. Now, Paul and the Suns are currently battling it out in round 2 of the Western Conference NBA playoffs, where they are facing off against a tough Denver Nuggets team. I very wrongly predicted the Phoenix Suns to lose to the Lakers in the first round, as I'm sure a lot of people did, but at least I'm staying true to the nature of the show with that particularly cold take. Aside from that, though, I think Liam and I covered the first round pretty well. I thought we were pretty accurate. But if you disagree with any of that, make sure to let me know in the comments. So just before we get into it, I know it's technically still episode 3, but I couldn't really drop another video without doing another brew review. So today we've got the Steamworks flagship Hazy IPA, just from a Stone's Throw brewery right in Vancouver, Gastown, Steamworks. So here it goes. Let's take a look. Not bad first taste. Oh, 6.7%. So it's kind of what you want in an IPA. That strong little 6.7% alcohol per volume. That'll put some hairs on your chest. Really not bad. Not a bad tasting IPA there. You know what? Already after only 2 or 3 sips, I can tell it's already elite. Not a bad aftertaste, like kind of your signature IPA taste. A little bit of bitterness. You can taste the hops there. Strong 6.7%. Put some hair on your chest. You know what? This one's elite. I'm going to give it an 8.7. First elite one. That's number 1 in the leaderboard so far. Great tasting beer. Great IPA. Really great work from Steamworks there. Super respectable brew. So there we have it, guys. The Steamworks flagship Hazy IPA. 8.7, everybody. Super smooth tasting IPA. Yeah, there we go. And now, back to the good stuff.
They were back.
All right, we're back. All right, so that's it for the West. I guess are we gonna do like second round stuff, or
I can do. We can like breeze through it if you want to do that. I have it all planned out if you'd like, or we can just do first round. Up to you. You're the host.
all right, let's swing over to the East and do the first round first. So we've already discussed Heat Bucks. So you got the Bucks going further.
Yeah.
You might have swayed me.
On the Bucks.
I was picking the Heat as an upset team.
I
Just
think
because,
I think it's huge that they won the first game. And the one thing to look out for is Giannis looked like he hurt himself in that game. He like reached out for a screen and like it looked like his elbow locked out in a really bad way, and he put his shooting sleeve on, and he didn't look good. So if he's injured, then it's obviously they're done. But he finished the game, so yeah.
all right, so we'll see, but that could be an upset there. I mean,
Mhm.
Heat culture, Spoelstra, Bam out of
It could totally
bios.
happen. Yeah, yeah, it
Could
could totally
happen.
happen.
We got Sixers, Wizards. We both agreed it's gonna be Sixers, maybe Wizards get a game. Nets, Celtics, that's pretty easy.
Brooklyn
Okay.
in 4.
Brooklyn in 4. Brooklyn in 4.
That's what I have. But let's see. Let me check the score real quick. Okay, Brooklyn's winning. Yeah, Brooklyn in 4. I think I think the Celtics are going to roll over the second they have adversity. Jason Tatum's going to like go sit on the bench and go think about tacos or something. I don't know.
Kyrie's gonna cook them for 40 every single
Yeah.
game, and then after they lose, the Celtics are gonna go over and kiss his nuts. Pardon my language.
Yes, they will.
The Celtic every single time the Celtics have played the Nets this season, it's been Kyrie cooks them for 40, and then the whole Celtics roster goes over to Kyrie and kisses him on the cheek, gives him big hugs, talks about what a great teammate he's been. It's like it's the softest thing I've ever seen.
It's pretty pathetic. Like, yeah, the Celtics, they're in a bad spot. How soft they are, they got to figure that out.
Yeah.
I guess that leaves us with Knicks Hawks.
Knicks Hawks. This is a tough one.
It's a fun one.
It's going to be a great series. Both young teams. The two stars, obviously, Julius Randle, Trae Young. I feel like Trae Young is kind of like he's almost as whiny as Luka, but for some reason the refs just respect him more because
I know.
he has
It's
this
so
thing
annoying.
where he takes like 2 or 3 dribbles. He gets the ball just outside the 3-point line. He takes 2 dribbles, and someone behind him, he checks his shoulder. Someone's behind him, and he just jumps up,
Into them.
sticks his ass out, and gets a foul. And he does that every single play. He gets the most free throws. But the thing is, I don't think he's going to get those same calls in the playoffs.
I agree. I'm just going to be straight up. I hate Trae Young as a player. Not a fan at all. I don't like the way he plays, and I don't like the way he like acts all entitled. And so I'm a pretty big like. And actually, I like most of the players around him. I just don't like him because he's got the bit of a little guy syndrome too. Like
Who even do the Hawks have besides him and Gallinari?
They got they obviously have Bogdanovich. They signed in free agency.
He's been insane.
He's pretty solid.
Been really good.
And then if DeAndre Hunter's healthy, he's really good. He's going to be the best player on that team if everything turns out right for him. But he had knee surgery this year, and he's been kind of messed up all year. If he's healthy, like they've got a better shot. Clint Capela's all right. John Collins is all right. They've got a lot of depth though. They've got they can go 10 deep.
So okay. The other thing is though, Julius Randle is an MVP candidate this year. It wasn't really a serious nod. It was just kind of like, Celtics were trash last year. No one expected them to go this far. Julius Randle has been basically Zion Williamson with more assists. Just like
really good.
Really, really good. Solid. Derrick Rose has been going off, 6th man of the year candidate.
Yes. Derrick Rose has been awesome.
Which everyone loves to see. You can't hate on Derrick Rose. If you do, go to hell. Stop watching.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe. Get off this channel. I hate you.
I'm a big Derrick Rose guy. So
yeah, everyone loves Derrick Rose. So I've got the Knicks winning in 6.
Let me see. I think I got the same thing. Yes, I do. I think there's the Hawks are going to really struggle with Julius Randle. Like they just don't have any bodies to throw at him. Like people were saying DeAndre Hunter if he's healthy, but Julius Randle has got like at least 40 pounds on him, and he's just stronger and he's bigger. And like, I love DeAndre Hunter, but he's just doesn't have a shot against Julius Randle right now, especially if he's injured. His knees, he can't keep up with him. So I think, and everything the Knicks do is based on Julius Randle. I've watched a fair number of their games because they're fun to watch now. And yeah, I just don't see, and I don't see Trae Young getting the calls, like you said. And I see Trae Young getting really like frustrated in game 3.
Right. And
taking 35 shots and sucking.
It's going to be his first time in the playoffs. So,
and when Derrick Rose checks into the game, it's going to be like straight to the basket every play.
Oh,
right?
Big
like,
time.
Like, and like if they're just going to run some action, get Trae Young switched on to one of their guards. If it's RJ Barrett, then it's going to be like, he's just going to get by him on strength. And if it's Derrick Rose, it's to the basket. And like Trae Young is like one of the worst defenders in the league. And that's going to be like a huge problem for Atlanta for the next, however long they have Trae Young, 10 years. It's going to be a problem.
Right. Okay.
I could see things working out for Atlanta where like New York just brick all their shots and Julius Randle, is a playoff choker or whatever. And RJ Barrett sucks out, he craters, but I don't really see it happening. I think Julius Randle's pretty solid, and I think
I don't see him choking. He's been so solid. He's been just like lighting it up.
Yeah, he's been going like head to head with all these huge players. He's not shrinking.
He doesn't shrink in crunch time.
Yeah, so I'm taking the Knicks. They have had trouble closing close games sometimes, but the Hawks are not the Lakers or the Clippers or whatever. They're the Hawks, so I think they've got a pretty good shot.
Right. And then, I mean, even if that does happen, just give the ball to Derrick Rose.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Rose is a closer for them. Like, he can do that. And no one on the Hawks can guard. Like, Bogdanovich isn't staying in front of him. If DeAndre Hunter's on him, then they got to dump it into Julius Randle, who's going to get a bucket. So.
Right. Okay. And then, so that's all well and good. Let's move on to the second round. I want to say, I think the Sixers probably have the easiest path to the conference final.
Yeah.
The Wizards are not a strong team.
Hawks or Knicks, they got to play in the second round. Like that's close to a sweep, really.
That's a wrap. Both series are a wrap.
Yeah.
So that leaves us the other side, either Heat or the Bucks against the Nets. Either team are quite resilient, especially with the addition of Drew Holiday onto the Bucks. I mean, obviously it depends on the health of Giannis.
We'll see.
So we'll see about that, but I think the Nets have a much more difficult route to the conference final, whether it's the Bucks or the Heat they have to face in the next round. I mean, first round Celtics, hate to see it, they're soft. That's a sweep.
Soft, yeah.
But either Heat or Bucks, that they're gonna get some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, because their defense it really is that bad. They can all turn, like all those guys can turn it on. Like Kyrie Irving is not that bad of a defender in the playoffs. He kind of turns it on. James Harden is not that bad.
He has his moments. Harden has his moments.
Well, he has his 3 times a game he'll get posted up and the commentators will be like, "Oh, look at Harden. He's actually a good defender." And it's like, well, his big ass can handle dudes in the post, but he's not actually trying that hard outside of the post.
No.
So, they're going to Mark Jackson's going to say, "Oh, there goes that man," or whatever, when James Harden gets a steal on the post, but it doesn't matter. There's in the long run, they're going to get scored.
Can I have your Mark Jackson impression?
Oh, no. Oh, mama, there goes that man. That's my Mark Jackson.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, Mark Jackson is his contrast with Jeff Van Gundy is pretty solid. Like, Mark Jackson is very annoying, but Jeff Van Gundy is as good as he gets. So they kind of bounce each other out.
My favorite is Mike Breen.
Oh, he's solid. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Brooklyn is getting scored on by Milwaukee a lot. By Miami, Miami's going to have trouble with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo both not being able to shoot. I just think Brooklyn also, their bigs are not, like Bam can work Blake Griffin, and Giannis can work Blake Griffin, and so I still have Brooklyn winning though, because like I think I think Milwaukee is not ready. They're just not there. Like offensively, Giannis, they just can't execute the way they need to. And Miami I think they're not as good as people think they are. Like Tyler Hero is not that good. So
he's not James Harden.
No.
The fact that Pat Riley didn't want to give up Tyler Hero for James Harden is just.
I mean, if Miami had traded Tyler Hero for Kyle Lowry, then it'd be a different conversation, because that team would be really good. Like I could see them winning the championship with Kyle Lowry right now. But
man, any of the teams,
no.
like if the Lakers had gotten Kyle Lowry and just given up, what was it, like Taylor Horton Tucker and a couple.
I don't believe that was real. I think they were using that to bid up the Sixers, because I can't imagine the Raptors getting Talon Horton Tucker for Kyle Lowry. I just like Talon Horton Tucker is fine. Like he's like, if he wasn't playing on the Lakers, we wouldn't talk about him. So
I like that take.
If the Sixers got,
I haven't heard that before. I haven't heard that.
It's like Kyle Kuzma 3 years ago. It's like if Kyle Kuzma was on the Hawks, then no one would care about Kyle Kuzma.
It's true. All right. Okay, so Sixers Nets.
Yeah. I have in the conference finals.
Yeah.
Yes, I have Sixers in 7.
I got the Nets. That one was just too hard for me though. I mean, if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid both play really well, I love Tobias Harris as well. Who else do they have?
Danny Green.
Danny Green, shut up. Get out. Stop it. Stop
Shake
it.
Milton. They got Shake Milton.
Shake Milton's good.
Matisse Thybulle.
He's a dog.
Oh,
he can defend.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it could go either way. On paper, it should be the Nets. This one was too difficult for me to decide, but I had the Nets coming out of it just because they've got so much firepower. It's just, I mean, you picked the more controversial team, which I respect.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you can tell by my picks so far, that I'm kind of going for a bit contrarian here.
I mean, you get more respect for picking the
I just think I think Philadelphia is really good, and I think what are they going to do about Joel Embiid? They can't.
Nothing. They can't.
They can't do anything, and so unless they get him in foul trouble, which I hope doesn't happen, because that's just going to be bad for it's just going to be a boring series if they get Joel Embiid in foul trouble. Unless he gets in foul trouble, I think he's going to dominate them offensively, and then defensively, they're going to not be able to get to the rim as well as they would like, because Ben Simmons is going to be on one of the primary ball handlers, and Embiid is going to be there in the paint waiting. And, the rest of the guys around them, like, Thybulle and, and Danny Green, as much as we hate on him, he's like, he can defend sometimes. Like, he's pretty solid sometimes. I just think the Sixers are finally going to be there. Like, they're legit.
Okay. What would you say? So one of the main destinations, which I'm really surprised about that didn't happen, Kyle Lowry was supposed to end up on the Sixers this year.
Yes.
And he ended up staying because I guess they didn't offer enough for him, and the Raptors just felt like.
Yeah. I think the report was that the Raptors wanted Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, and a pick or two, and the Sixers were only willing to do one of them and a pick. And I think that was smart of the Raptors not to do that, because Kyle Lowry's way too good to just give him away for like Thybulle, as good as Thybulle is. But if I think the Sixers should have done it. Honestly, they should have just like they're not going to.
So how would that work though? Like Simmons would probably stay at PG, and then Lowry would.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he can be off ball, he can be on ball, he can sit in the corner, he can run screen and roll with Ben Simmons. That would be pretty insane.
They'd have Lowry at the 2 running shooting guard.
Yeah.
And then because Simmons can't be a shooting guard.
Well, they could do what I think they would do is they would have, like, let's say at the end of a game, like last couple minutes of a game, they would have Kyle Lowry playing point guard, Ben Simmons being the main screener, or Joel Embiid being the main screener, and the paint would be clogged, but he's good enough to either pull up for three if they, if they sag, and if they like kind of swarm him like they probably would with Ben Simmons screening, then you have Ben Simmons playing the Draymond role where he just dumps it off, and Ben Simmons going 4-on-3 basically to pass to the corner or like lob to Embiid. Like I think it would be pretty unstoppable, and I can't believe they didn't do the trade. I would have done it in a second. If you do that trade for a championship, and that's what it would I think it would not guarantee, but it would give them such a good shot at winning that I just 100%. Think you have to do it. Like Ben Simmons is as good of a passer as Draymond is. He turns it over less. Can you imagine Ben Simmons replacing Draymond on the Warriors right now? Be pretty solid.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what Kyle Lowry could do with them, but it's not going to happen, I guess. It might happen in the offseason, sign and trade.
Where do you think? I don't think Kyle Lowry wants to leave Toronto though.
I think he's going to stay. People are saying he's going to leave, but I think he's going to stay. They're going to give him the money he wants, and unless the Raptors like win the lottery and they draft Cade Cunningham or something, then they're going to keep him.
Right. All right, let's go second round
in the West.
West. So we both got Jazz and Clippers advancing. And then you have Nuggets, I have Blazers, and then you got the Suns. I
do.
I don't even have the Suns going. I have them winning one game. That's it. I think the Lakers are just gonna dominate them with size.
Well, I mean, this is a hedge. This is a hedge on LeBron sucking. So
yeah.
if he sucks, which if he plays like he did against the Warriors, then they're not gonna win. But
first half,
it's hard to. I mean, the second half, he really just hit some jumpers. Like that's all it was. And it's
he had a couple bully ball moments.
He did, but he also still got like overpowered at the rim by Juan Toscano Anderson one too many times.
That's true, and Andrew Wiggins, mind you.
And Andrew Wiggins, yeah.
That was the Andrew Wiggins revenge game for LeBron trading him immediately from the Cavs.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Well, it was one of the commentators. It was like Jason Williams or whatever, or not Jason Williams. What's the guy who was in the motorcycle accident? What's his name?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, not White Chocolate, but Jason. Yeah. What's his face?
Yeah, whatever his I can't remember his name. He was like, oh, Andrew Wiggins had stops in Cleveland and stops in Minnesota, like, and then he wound up. He's talking about him like he's a journeyman. Like he was in Minnesota his whole career. He didn't have stops in Cleveland. I just thought that was funny. But yeah, I think LeBron's gonna suck. So I have Phoenix going on.
All right.
So who do you have for the second for Clippers Jazz?
I have Jazz just because I don't trust Paul George in the Flippers.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Way off P, playoff P, PG 13% field goal percentage, whatever it is. I just don't trust him. And Mavs won today.
Yeah, that's true. It's not that's contingent for them.
It's contingent on Donovan Mitchell being healthy though.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, they need a guy to score like as good as Jordan Clarkson is. He's not going to go toe to toe with Kawhi.
No.
Donovan Mitchell can like potentially score with Kawhi.
Donovan Mitchell is that dude.
Yeah, he's legit. He's very close to being a chucker. If you ask me, his efficiency is not that good, and he takes a lot of shots. But also, like because of the team he's on, he just has to. So I'm not going to just call him a chucker. I have the Clippers winning.
So for those viewers that are uninitiated, can you tell us what's your definition of a chucker? What does that mean?
I mean, you got to think like Rudy Gay on the Raptors, like a guy who takes like 23, 24 shots a game, who gets doubled occasionally and won't pass out of the double, and will brick 55% of his shots.
Just take stupid shots and
he'll take like Rudy Gay will Rudy Gay. He actually said in an interview that he should have been wearing contacts. He was blind. And he was like shooting like 25% from three, and he was taking like 25 shots a game. That's a chucker. So,
All right.
yeah, someone who shoots below like 42% from the field and takes a lot of shots and acts like they're Kobe or something at the end of a game. And Donovan Mitchell was that in his rookie year, but he's since gotten way better.
He's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
So there you have it. There's a chucker.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so what? Okay, so you got the clips, I assume.
I got clips in 7, which is I hate doing it, but I think Kawhi, like, he looked so good today. He's looked so good all year, and they just have like if they have the pedigree, they have the talent. Like, I don't see them choking this, and I think Paul George is going to turn it around. As much as we like to hate on him, he's going to turn it around.
You're going paper, man.
Like Paul George, I mean, the thing is, he's been terrible against the Jazz in the playoffs. Like, he had that infamous game on the Thunder where he was like 3 points or something in Game 7, like that bad. He was so bad. I just have this feeling that they're going to be good this year. Like, I just think like Serge Ibaka is pretty big. He's overrated, but he's good for them. And Rondo is like huge for them.
The thing about the Clippers, I think they're in my opinion, they're the scrappiest team in the league. Boogie Cousins, like the most emotional player ever. He
gets taken out of a game after one foul call, so he's like a wash for me.
He's a scrapper. Rondo's a scrapper. We all know Pat Bev's a scrapper.
Patrick Patterson.
Patterson.
No, he's pretty soft.
He's
fun though.
Who was I gonna say? Oh, Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
Serge Ibaka. Do not fuck with that man. Do not mess around with him.
Were you watching that game when he against the Bulls when he on the Raptors when he almost punched Robin Lopez? Did you see that?
I remember there was a player on the Cavs that like
Marquise Chris. Yeah. And he like had him by the neck. He was like holding him like that. Yeah.
That was like the scariest thing I've ever seen in the NBA. So it was Marquise Chris. He knocked him down or something, and then he like stood over him for like a split second.
Yeah.
Barely even noticeable. Serge Ibaka jumps up with like just a fire lit under his ass. He pushes him against the post,
right? Yeah.
And has him by the neck. He's just wailing on him. Like the scariest thing. He got
suspended for like a week or 2 or something like that.
It was ridiculous. Anyways, so don't mess around with those guys.
I think they're tougher now. I think like Marcus Morris too. He's pretty tough.
Oh yeah, big time.
So, Rondo. I think Rondo was pretty big. Like if like today he was playing really well for them.
I think that was a good pickup.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this series could go either way, especially if Donovan Mitchell isn't healthy. It could be a bad matchup for Utah, but I just had the Jazz just because they've been so solid all year, and I just don't trust Paul George.
Yeah, I just think I think in this series Rondo is going to be like, I hate that I keep saying Rondo, but he's going to be huge for them, especially because like I think they're starting Reggie Jackson, who by the way looks like he went to like the Adidas outlet store and picked up every single piece of equipment you could have and put it on.
He's got the Kareem goggles on.
He's got a headband, Kareem goggles, 2 shooting sleeves, some wristbands. Like, it's insane. He looks like
that guy that shows up to the YMCA gym and just like you said, went to Foot Locker, picked up everything, and just ends up shooting bricks all.
Yeah, he's just shooting bricks and turning the ball over and like getting blown by on defense. Like, so they're gonna need Rondo, I think. They should really just play Paul George at point guard. Honestly, he's a good enough ball handler, and he typically makes the right decisions with the ball in his hand. And the biggest problem with the Clippers today was that Kawhi wasn't getting the ball at the end of the game, and that's where like he just needs to have the ball, every possession and either take a shot or draw a double. And he was kind of getting looked off this whole game. So, if they don't adjust that, then they're not going to go very far. But I have a feeling they're going to. They're going to say, well, we lost today because Kawhi didn't get the ball. And and Kawhi looked really good. So I do have Clippers in 7. I do think the Jazz are incredible, though, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the finals.
Right. All right. I can respect that.
And we got Lakers for you. I got Phoenix versus Denver or Portland. We have
we have 2 different teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, between the Lakers and the Blazers, I got the Lakers.
Yeah, it's not close. If the Lakers make the second round, then they're going to go to the finals, I think.
Yeah, I agree, because both the Blazers and the Jazz are a bad matchup. Clippers could give them trouble, but I mean, LeBron is LeBron, and if AD plays with any sense of authority, no one's beating the Lakers.
Yeah. For me, I got Phoenix beating Denver.
Phoenix.
Because the same thing I talked about Chris Paul, he gets to play Jokic. He gets a big man to play with, even though Jokic has been pretty solid on defense. It just lets him do what he wants to do. And I know I said that the guards on Portland couldn't overcome Jokic, but I think Devin Booker and Chris Paul can overcome Jokic, especially with no Jamal Murray. You know, I feel like Chris Paul is going to work Campazzo all day. You know,
are you calling him Campazzo on purpose, or?
Yeah.
Okay, just getting that straight. All right. So since you mentioned Chris Paul, I'm gonna go ahead and do my Chris Paul thing. So there's this thing with Chris Paul. Okay, so Phoenix, nobody really expected them to be competing for the first seed, but you know, a lot of big surprises this year. Phoenix is one of them, and you know, they've kind of been in Utah's shadow in this category because just in terms of like the shock factor, because they did go 7-0 in the bubble last year, so people were expecting them to give some sort of fight, and Utah has been more solid overall, I'd say. But you know, we all know what kind of an impact Chris Paul brings to a team, his leadership, all the little million things that he does on and off the court to impact his team and impact winning, that just don't show up on the stat sheet. So the guy has been in the MVP conversation at one point this year, whether or not that was just kind of a nod to what he's done over time in his career individually. So how is Chris Paul similar to Leonardo DiCaprio, you ask? So this is how. So we all remember like the jokes that were happening back in, I don't know, a couple of years ago, probably 2015, 16 or something, before Leonardo DiCaprio was awarded an Oscar. You know, he had been in so many big movies like Catch Me If You Can, Titanic, probably name a couple others. What has Leo not done in his career? But he hadn't won an Oscar. So, you know, after he put out The Revenant, it was 2016. Yeah. They gave him the Oscar for The Revenant. And I mean, this is no diss to The Revenant, but I mean, as an individual looking at The Revenant on its own, I don't think he would have won that Oscar very, very much. And Chris Paul didn't win the Oscar, but he got that nod just because, like Leo, all these amazing things he had done in his career, he had never won an Oscar despite all those little things. And Chris Paul, I mean, it's like he came to Charlotte as a rookie. Not Charlotte. The Hornets, New Orleans Hornets. They were a 22% winning team, and when he was there, he turned them to a 46% winning team. Same with the Clippers. When he first got there, they were 39% winning team, and he turned them to a 66% winning team in the time he was there. On the Rockets, 67% win, turned them to a 79%. OKC, and OKC is a big one because, I mean, they lost their two best players in Kevin Durant, which then turned into Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. And so I believe ESPN rated them as 0.2% of making the playoffs. And Chris Paul comes in there and just absolutely just defies all expectations, leads this team of the youngest team in the NBA. Like their average age was like 21 or something. Brings them to the playoffs, and they end up taking the Houston Rockets, led by Russell Westbrook. And James Harden didn't win the MVP that year, but I mean, he won the MVP once or twice, a couple scoring titles.
Yeah, I think it was twice.
Anyway, so completely defies expectations. So yeah, so that's kind of why after all these impactful performances on these different teams, he got the MVP nod. So keeping on the topic of movies and TV, I was watching. Have you seen Kitchen Nightmares before with Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a big Kitchen Nightmares guy.
So funny. There's so many, like, if you guys haven't seen it, it's like so basically there's all these failing restaurants with Gordon Ramsay. He goes into these situations where these just idiotic restaurant managers that are just like stealing the tips from their waiters and giving them to the restaurant so they go back into the business, or just like all these wasteful practices, like wasting food, wasting money, all these. And so there's all these clips on the internet of Gordon Ramsay just like screaming and profanities at people. But he goes into these failing restaurants, these failing businesses, and brings them back into business, right? So Chris Paul is, in one way, he's kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio, but he's also kind of like Gordon Ramsay, because he goes into these failing franchises and saves them. He's such a leader. He does all these million little things to on the court and off the court to impact winning, and he saves these franchises. So there you go. That's how Chris Paul is both the Gordon Ramsay and the Leonardo DiCaprio of the NBA.
I think those are two very good comparisons.
Thank you.
By the way, it was 2015 that he won the Oscar. There's not a very strong performance that he had to go against. It was like Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight or something. Like, it was a pretty weak year. So, but I totally agree with the sentiment. Yeah. Gordon Ramsay is a good one too, but I feel like Gordon Ramsay probably doesn't, like, I bet you if you go back 3 months after like he left, those restaurants have failed anyways.
Probably.
Like how many of them like actually like, oh, thanks Gordon, now that you came here, we're like a successful business, we're raking in the money, and we're all our family is no longer in turmoil.
I'm pretty sure the only way to really like save those franchises would just like hit the reset button, fire the manager, fire the owner. Like,
yeah,
they were going downhill.
Yeah, but yeah, Chris Paul to me is like, he's like a top 3-point guard of all time.
He's 11 All-Star appearances. He's number 5 all time in assists in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just an outstanding.
Incredible. He's been all defense several times. He's basically been like the second or third best point guard in every season since he came into maybe like a year after he came into the league.
And what is he, like 6 foot nothing?
He's like 6 feet in shoes basically. So yeah. he can dunk. He actually had a dunk, I think, this year.
Oh really?
But yeah. But
no, he had that dunk last year in the All-Star game.
Yeah, he had that. Yeah,
and everyone went crazy. I love that. Everyone loved to see that.
Yeah, he truly, like, if you go back and look at his playoff exits, because people will say, oh, he never won a ring. He can't be the best if he didn't win a ring. Most of the time, it's not been his fault. He had one year, I think, with the Clippers where he turned the ball over a couple times against the Thunder, I think, at the end of the game.
Classic flippers.
And it was like, yeah, just like that kind of sealed the deal for him. But every other time, like, I remember I was watching the series against the Spurs. Remember, like, I don't know if you remember, but it was the Spurs were the defending champs, and the Spurs like sat all their guys the last game of the season, and they wound up like in the 4-5 matchup with the Clippers. It was like it was just a mess with the seeding, because those were the two best teams in the West, really, unless you look at the Warriors or the Thunder. But at that point, the Clippers were the favorites. And so it was like a heavyweight battle in the first round. And Chris Paul in game 7, I think he tore his hamstring in the fourth quarter, and he kept playing, and he wound up hitting a game winner over Tim Duncan and Kawhi. Like one of those like lopsided layups off the glass. It was absolutely insane. It was one of the best game winners I've ever seen. And then he couldn't play the next. He tore his hamstring. He couldn't play, and that's just kind of like his career in a nutshell. Like he has always been good enough. It just never worked out for him, and it's a shame because I think he's incredible.
Yeah. I mean that Clippers team was amazing, but they always disappointed in the playoffs, which was terrible.
I mean, that Rockets collapse was just absolutely, it was pathetic.
27 missed threes in a row.
It was Josh. Well, no, when they collapsed against the Rockets, remember that? It was like Josh Smith and freaking, I don't know. It was like Josh Smith and Trevor Ariza like destroyed them, came back from down 3-1.
Jeez.
It's just terrible. Yeah. And then
and that was the year with Paul Pierce and Matt Barnes and
yes.
yeah.
I guess they didn't have it.
No, but that Clippers team, like, you ever go on YouTube and search best dunks of all time, most disrespectful dunks, there's always a Blake Griffin Lob City dunk in there.
I mean, there's always a Chris Paul pass to the dunk. Like every one of those dunks is Chris Paul.
Every single one. And there's usually it's either Chris Paul to Blake Griffin or Chris Paul to DeAndre Jordan back when he could jump over a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And
good.
Yeah, that team was exciting.
That was
too
fun.
bad it didn't work out.
Yeah. So with all that history, I'm rooting for Chris Paul more than anyone this year. And that's why I've got them going to the conference finals against the Clippers.
I hope they do well, because if they get blown up in the first leg of the playoffs by the Lakers, if LeBron shows up and AD shows up, I can't see him staying. He'll probably go to the Knicks or something.
Part of me picked the Suns just out of like sheer will. Like I can will this to happen because I wanted to win so bad. Unfortunately, I can't see them beating the Clippers, so I got the Clippers going to the finals.
All right, so there's my spiel and all our playoff picks. So
we didn't get to the conference finals. You didn't say who you got for the West in the conference. Who's going to go to the final for the West?
So you got Clippers, Suns, and then you got
Clippers winning.
And then you got Clippers winning going to the final, and then you have Sixers. So you have Clippers, Sixers in the final.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. I would like that to happen because I mean I'm not a big fan of the whole Nets situation.
Me either.
I mean, we could do a whole nother episode about that and super teams, but let's just not go into that. Not a fan of the Nets, but I have Jazz beating the Clippers just because I don't trust Paul George.
Of course.
And Lakers beating the Blazers and going to the conference. I have Lakers in the final against the Nets.
Yeah.
Lakers Nets. That would be, I mean, that's Adam Silver's wet dream right there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, like I would struggle to watch that series unless it was like, I don't know. There's no one to root for, it's not fun. Because that means the Nets are actually good, and that sucks. That means the Lakers are good, and I like LeBron. I think he's the best player of this generation, but I don't want to I just don't want to watch it.
The Nets winning it all would just break so many years of coaching philosophies. Like, oh, you have to have chemistry, you have to have guys that like each other and play together. These guys haven't played together. Like,
today was the first game they played together. Today was the first time they used the starting lineup they did.
Like, so, it would be so disgusting. I don't want to see them making it to the final, but no. I mean, I was born at night, not last night. So I can't I can't see a team beating them. I would love the Sixers to be better and to triumph over them, and a Lakers Sixers series would be great in the finals. But yeah,
so who do you have winning then? You have the Nets winning?
I mean, okay, so this is no surprise. It's dependent on LeBron and AD's health, but I could see LeBron and AD doing it if they're healthy. If they're healthy, I could see them winning it. If this is 2018 LeBron and last year's AD, they could do it. I could see it happening.
What is he going to be? He's going to be 4-9 in the finals now. Is that a strike against him?
4 and
he was 3 and 6, and then he was 4 and 7.
No, he's 4 and 6.
4 and 7. He's 4 and 6 right now. All right. So he's
So he would be 5 and 6 versus 4 and 7.
Yeah, that's a stain on his career, isn't it?
It is. I don't. He's never going to catch Jordan.
I'm not one of, I think making the finals is like, he shouldn't get docked for making the finals with a bad team. So I agree. I think he's like, whatever all the finals he's been to is
like the fact that he dragged his sorry ass Cavs team, like good for nothing 07 and 2018 Cavs teams. Those teams had nobody.
Mo Williams.
Like 14 as well.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, both non-existent. 2018, they should have had Kevin Love, but he was too depressed to step foot on the court, which sucks. But I mean, mental health is a real thing.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be taken for granted. 2018, he had Jordan Clarkson and who else? Like
Larry Nance
Jr. 2015, he had Matthew Dellavedova. Like, stop it. Just stop.
Yeah.
07, who did he have? Like
Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Mo Williams.
And
didn't he have like the guy who like
banged his mom?
He banged his he hit that guy. What was his name?
Allegedly, and now he's homeless or something.
Yeah.
We both know who we're talking about.
He's at the tip of my tongue. Yeah. But anyways, I don't count it against him.
If anyone watching this remembers the name of the guy we're talking about, make sure to drop that in the comments.
Delonte West.
There it is. Delonte West. There we go.
Yeah.
How could I
shout out to Delonte West? Hopefully he's doing all right.
Hopefully he's doing better. I think Mark Cuban helped him out or something.
He's helping him out, yeah. So I'll say I have Philadelphia beating the Clippers in the finals.
Philadelphia. I would like that. I would like to see Joel Embiid win one.
I also want that to happen so they don't think they have to trade for Kyle Lowry, because I want Kyle Lowry to stay. Right.
I want Joel Embiid to win one. I don't want Ben Simmons to win one. That guy sucks.
Yeah. I think it would be pretty fun. I also think, like, matchup wise, Ben Simmons can do as good a job as anyone on Kawhi, and Embiid will dominate Zubats or Serge Ibaka or whoever they put on him.
Nice.
And Danny Green will like somehow hit 8 threes in one of those games. Thibault will turn Paul George into like a role player.
He'll have him eating out of his hand.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for playoff predictions. You want to do some power rankings or
power rankings? We kind of really did that with the playoff predictions. We could do the regular season awards real quick.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so what do you want to start with?
Let's start with MVP combo.
Okay. Well, I have Jokic, and I had Jokic from the beginning, really, even when Embiid was playing crazy. Like his if you watch Jokic play, like it's have you seen him do his somber shuffle? You know that shot I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, it's when he does his like one leg fadeaway thing. It's where like he shoots off the same leg that he's fading on. It's like absolutely insane. It's unstoppable, and he makes it every time he shoots.
Oh yeah. It's like a turnaround Dirk fade kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like on the same leg, so his balance is all off. It's crazy.
With one knee up, right?
Yeah, like it's like a sidestep, but with his off knee, he goes up and he's got it's totally crazy. And it's like every time he makes it, it's like it's just incredible. So yeah, but anyways, I have him in fantasy, so I've been like watching every stat line he's got too, and it just like normally he starts the season poorly, but this time he was like skinny Jokic, he just got going right away.
It was like at the start of his career, he was good, but he was way too pass first. He wasn't that guy yet, and he's kind of really realized even more so now that Jamal Murray's out that like when his team is down, when they need him to go off, he will put the ball on the floor and take it to the rim, and the next play he'll bring it down, and then he'll get double teamed, pass it off to a guy. Like I don't know, some crazy between two guys.
I hate to
pass.
say this, but he also whines a lot. If you watch him live, he whines almost as much as Luka does.
I saw really that one play where he was like screaming at the refs.
And he gets hacked though. Like he gets hacked.
He does. It's the only thing that people can do though. Like, what else are you gonna do against?
Yeah, because he hits all these like teardrops from like every spot on the floor. So he's been more aggressive. It's been really fun to watch.
I
think Jamal Murray going down helps his case because now it's like, well, Jamal Murray went down and they've been better.
It's stupid. So, it shouldn't make sense. But I think though, actually maybe not since Murray went down, but if Embiid hasn't missed so many games, it would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I think the media was saying he was the MVP, but honestly, from the beginning, like Jokic was so solid, like he was so solid defensively that his offensive, like it's the best offensive season for like a big guy ever.
Yeah.
So like to me, like that's enough for MVP, and his team is not that good, or his team is very good, but they've had so many injuries, and he's been able to just keep them afloat. He's played every game or like almost every game. So yeah, I think he's been incredible, and I think he's so fun to watch. So
I think we're pretty much on agreement with that. I have
a quick little I think Rudy Gobert should be in the voting. He should be up there. Like he's that good defensively. And I hate Rudy Gobert. I'm not a fan
for MVP.
Yes.
So or DPOY.
Why. No, for DPOY, but MVP. Here's why. Rudy Gobert's defense is so game changing. Like he's the reason why the Jazz are that good. And I would compare his defense to like a Jokic on offense. Like that's how he controls every moment on defense. He allows the Jazz to do everything they want to do. He offensively, he's pretty. He
doesn't play offense.
Well, his screen assists are like major for them. Like they shoot so well from three because like every other big guy in the NBA just like slips screens and doesn't want to take contact. He'll set a rock hard screen and like send some guy to the floor. And
what's his wingspan?
Oh, it's like 7. It's like 7'6" or 7'7" or something like that.
It has to be like 7, at least 7'6".
So to me, MVP is like it's his impact especially on defense, but on both sides of the floor. Like without him, the Jazz would not be. They'd be a lottery team if you ask me. Like that's how good he is. So I hate to give all the credit to Gobert because he's freaking annoying, but he's not like I wouldn't vote for him, but I think he deserves to be like third or fourth.
He's good, but he's just a bum.
Yeah, he's a bum. If you took his defense and just made made an offensive player out of him that it was equivalent to his defense, it would be 35 points a game, like Steph Curry kind of like changing the game for his whole team. So that's how good he is on defense. So I just give him a shout out.
And you know what? As much as I dislike Rudy Gobert, I'm glad that it was Rudy and not Steph Curry that you said. Anyways.
So what's next?
All right. What's next? Let's go Rookie of the Year.
This one was really tough. I have Anthony Edwards.
I do too. He played all season.
Yeah, he played all. Like his start was very rough, but the way he ended the season, like it's actually been amazing. Like he's like getting 25, 5 and 5, like it's nothing. and he's playing like a free safety on defense, like getting 5 steals a game or whatever.
I mean, mind you, he's on Minnesota and they suck.
Well, they've been a lot better actually since the All-Star break. Like they were close. They played themselves out of a draft spot. Like they're going to lose the pick.
Really dumb. I don't
really
know
bad.
why they
it's
did.
just like the franchise is stupid.
it just shows how stupid their front office and their franchise is as a whole. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, you're right.
For him, he was incredible, and he was a big reason why they were so successful. Part of it was like Chris Finch from the Raptors coming over, new head coach. He's been really good. Ryan Saunders, he's a nice guy, but he was not a good head coach. So
can we say that though, if LaMelo hadn't got injured, he probably would have won it?
Yeah, I think so. But the way he came back, he missed a lot of games and he came back and was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's too bad because LaMelo was really fun. And I can't wait to see how good to me, I was shocked at how good he was.
I was too. I think everyone was.
I thought he was going to be so bad. Like I thought he was going to be a bust, honestly.
And MJ was he was known as being one of the worst owners. And this year he kind of elevated himself out of that position because Charlotte was finally watchable.
Yeah, they were fun. They were good. And
part of that
was a big reason.
A big part of that was LaMelo. Also,
can you imagine if they took James Wiseman? Just it would have been a nightmare for them.
Whew.
Yeah.
And I still think Wiseman is pretty good. He's going to be good, but he is a project.
It's a long time for him. Yeah. It was a tough position for him.
MJ took a chance on Gordon Hayward on a very questionable contract.
Yeah. It's too bad he wasn't healthy for the playoffs. It would have been, they really needed him. Game.
Yeah. Okay. So Edwards, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Also, shout out Tyrese Halliburton. He was pretty solid, but not quite there.
You want to take a quick break?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we're back. And one thing I almost forgot. So, I'm never one to pat myself on the back, but one of the many things I do have in common with MJ the GOAT, we both showed our GM skills this year because in fantasy, I picked Terry Rozier as a late pick, and he had an outstanding, absolutely outstanding season. Another reason why Charlotte was actually super exciting this year. I mean, Miles Bridges, Dunk of the Year candidate, LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward once again, Terry Rozier. They also had that other guy, Devontae Graham.
I'm a Devontae Graham hater, actually. He's a chucker.
He is a chucker, but he had a very good start to the season. Second half of the season was questionable, but yeah, I do agree. He's it's good for him that he's playing well sometimes, but I think like long term for the Hornets, he can't really be part of the future for them. With they're gonna have to pick between Terry Rozier and him. Right, they're way too point guard heavy.
Yeah. They have a lot of, it's good to have a lot of creators on offense, and it's fun that LaMelo doesn't dominate the ball, even though he's a playmaker. And like Devontae Graham is a spot up shooter. He can sit in the corner, but I just think you can't have that many guards, especially on defense. He's not good. So
yeah,
he's like, he can hold his own, but he's not long-term for them. They have to get talent upgrade. And he's one of the guys I think is going to be expendable.
Yeah. He's going to be a trade piece for sure. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that LaMelo being like not so ball dominant. I find he's kind of like Facundo in the way that he has so many just unnecessary flashy plays.
Yeah. Well, I really hope they don't turn LaMelo into like the James Harden, Luka Doncic, like give him the ball and spread out and let him do his thing and he'll pass. Like it's so boring to watch. And the Hornets were so fun to watch this year because they moved the ball and they moved off the ball. They ran pick and roll. They did all the stuff that made him, and LaMelo didn't dominate the ball, but when he had the ball, it was fun. And when he could play off the ball a little bit. I hate teams that have their guy and they're like, this is their guy, so he's going to touch the ball every play. I
Yeah.
just don't think that's the way to win, and it's not fun to watch. So I hope they don't do that with LaMelo because he's so much fun.
Agreed. All right. What's the next category? 6-man?
Sure, 6-man. Yeah, I got Derrick Rose. It's really tight for me though. I think he's been really good.
I would love for it to be Derrick Rose. As I said, you can't hate Derrick Rose. If you're hating on Derrick Rose, stop watching this, stop listening, get off my page, unsubscribe. But I think it has to be Jordan Clarkson.
It kind of has to be Jordan Clarkson, but I think Joe Ingles is equally as important for the Jazz off the bench. And so that kind of like hurts Jordan Clarkson's case for me. And like the other thing is that if you think about 6-man, I think 6-man, they typically come off the bench and finish games. And Jordan Clarkson, if the Jazz are like perfectly healthy and they're playing well, he's not going to finish the game for them. They're going to have Conley and Mitchell and Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles will finish the game for them. So he's really he might actually be their 6-man. Whereas Derrick Rose is closing for the Knicks off the bench.
That's actually a very good point.
Yeah. So for me, I think Derrick Rose is really fun. Also, another shout out, Jalen Brunson from the Mavericks was really solid this year. He's I don't know if you watched them at all, but he's pretty fun.
I saw him today. He was very good today.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy, he wishes he could just back down his man every single possession and shoot a post hook, but he's 6'1" or whatever, so he can't do that. But he was solid defensively. He's very good too. So yeah, he's not going to win, but I just thought he's a good, top 5 guy for that award.
Good honorable mention.
Yeah.
All right. DPOY, defensive player.
I think you know what I'm going to say.
It's Gobert. Has to be Gobert.
Yeah.
Other candidates, you know what I find funny, because Giannis was the 2-time MVP and a defensive player of the year last year, and he hasn't changed anything about what he's been doing.
No, it's voter fatigue, right?
It's voter fatigue. It's like he's been doing the same thing year after year, and he's barely even in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, funny. I would put him second in MVP this year. I think Jokic has been better than him, straight up. But DPOY, I think Rudy Gobert has also improved compared to where he was. He's not going to get played off the floor like he did against Houston 2 years ago. He's just better than that now. And so, I could see having Giannis second in DPOY as well. Because people are making the argument that it should be Ben Simmons for DPOY. And to me, Ben Simmons doesn't drastically change the game, every possession or for a whole team the entire season, the way Rudy Gobert does. It's just not the same thing. In high leverage moments, you can put Ben Simmons on the other team's best player and say, we've got it. This is as good as we can do. But Rudy Gobert has his fingerprints on the entire identity of the Jazz in a way that Ben Simmons just can't as a guard. So that's why I think Rudy Gobert is DPOY for me.
Other candidates: Ben Simmons, Draymond Green. I think Bam Adebayo has to get an honorable mention.
Yeah, if you're looking at guards, Fred VanVleet should get a little shout out because he gets his block steal things every game, and he hounds opposing guards. If you look at stat sheets, every single game the star on the other team doesn't play well against the Raptors, and that's because of Fred VanVleet.
Well, if you're putting Fred in the conversation, I think
Drew Holiday,
TJ McConnell has to be in the
McConnell. TJ has been the single most fun player to have on fantasy this year. He's dropping 15 and 15 and 8 steals games all the time.
Yeah,
he's TJ McConnell's been awesome.
Well, he's the steals champ. So
yeah, well, he should actually get a shout out for 6-man. He was really good this year.
He was.
So
all right. So we got MVP, rookie, 6-man, defensive player of the year. Okay, do you want to do coach or most improved player first?
Up to you.
All right, let's do coach of the year.
Okay. Who do you have?
I got Tibbs.
Okay, that's a fair pick. He did help the Knicks like with their culture quite a bit. I have Quinn Snyder because the Jazz have like they're not as talented as a lot of the teams at the top of the West, and they're still doing that well. And part of that is Rudy Gobert's defense, but part of it is like they're a well-oiled machine on both ends of the floor because they're just ready to play every game.
Absolutely. There's been so many.
Sorry, go ahead.
Like, there's been so many big shockers this year. The Suns being good, well, not really because they went 7-0 in the bubble, but Utah being so solid. The Lakers kind of sucking a little bit. The Wizards being an actual sort of a contender, not really. But I think the two big ones are how good the Jazz have been, and what's the other one? I think the Suns.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I also have
Charlotte, the Hornets.
Charlotte. I thought was going to be terrible, but they're awesome. I also have in the Coach of the Year, just as another one of these shout outs for Taylor Jenkins, coach of the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Because the Grizzlies are like really young and they have talent, but they're not like, to me, if you just look at the the rosters, they shouldn't be in the playoffs, and they are, and that's because I think Taylor Jenkins has them playing really well, and he has like their rotations down really well. He's got JV playing a lot, which most coaches have never done before, and yeah, he just seems to get a lot out of everyone. Like Dylan Brooks shouldn't be as good as he is.
No, he shouldn't. Memphis shouldn't be as good.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. was injured for the whole season almost, and they're still that good. So, yeah, I think he should definitely be up there.
All right. Last not least, most improved player.
I think this one's easy for me. It's Julius Randle.
But the thing is, Julius Randle was always pretty talented.
Oh yeah, so here's my case for Julius Randle. He was always talented, and there's always like the lottery picks who like in their third year get the MIP, like Brandon Ingram. When it's like, well, that's kind of who he's supposed to be. Is he really the MIP? But Julius Randle last year was like really bad. He Knicks fans hated him. They wanted they drafted Obi Toppin, and they're like, well, we got to get rid of Julius Randle for Obi Toppin now.
Toppin.
Obi Toppin. Yeah, he's 23 years old. But anyways, Julius Randle, like, he was taking terrible shots. He was breaking shots. He was a chucker last year. He defensively, he was a sieve. He was turning it over, mostly just breaking mid-range shots, and also breaking shots from the corners. And
Julius Randle to New York is like what LeBron was to the Cavs to Cleveland.
Well, here's the thing. Like this year, I looked at his like percentages. He's shooting like 45% on turnaround jumpers, which is like elite, like really, really amazing. And last year it was like terrible on turnaround jumpers. And he's also shooting like above 45% on corner threes, when last year he was shooting 20% on corner threes. And so like that's where his offense is coming from now. And like that's like, to me, that's like drastic improvement, because he went from an inefficient chucker to like a franchise cornerstone in 1 year. That's big. It wasn't looking good for him last year, but his like and the fact that he's been able to do it against big teams, like really good teams, and he's just going head to head with these guys, and he's been efficient. He's dropping like 38-18 games on really good teams. So like last year, I thought he was going to be, off the bench, out of the league in a couple of years, and he's been amazing. So that's most improved for me. Who do you have?
That's a tough one. Make a good case for Randle, because I've heard a lot of stories about that came out this year, especially with what happened to Kobe, like just Kobe's mentorship on Randle and how he's really just been working his ass off, Mamba mentality and all that. And like, forget how corny that sounds, but he really put in the work. But I'm going to go MPJ.
That's a good one.
I really like, what you said about he was pretty good in the playoffs last year, but he was still like a weak third option. And he's been really efficient from three this year. He can defend a little bit. He's really just turned up his game. And part of the reason, obviously the biggest thing is Jokic, why the Nuggets have been so good this year, just like so solid. But I think a big part of it is MPJ. Michael Porter Jr. is just really solid. He's a solid, sometimes a second option for
Well,
I mean,
he has to be now, right?
right now he is for sure, but he's just been lighting it up. And you know, the Nuggets regular season record is a testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't be anywhere without him. You can't just have one guy, unless, I mean, maybe Jokic is that good. It could be just him, but he's been really, really, really solid. Like, he's basically like an elite scorer already, and he's only been playing NBA minutes for, like, if you combine all the minutes he's played, it's probably equal to one season at this point. The only thing with him is, like, I feel like Michael Malone finally trusts him to play the way he wants to play. And if Michael Malone had trusted him last year, he would be very close to what he's doing now. Obviously, he's more comfortable now, and defensively, he's like vastly improved. But offensively, like, he could put up 30 last year pretty easily. And I think Michael Malone, probably rightly so, like, held him back a bit until he's at where he is now. But yeah, that's a pretty good pick. He's been awesome.
Right. So I guess that just about covers it for regular season awards. I think that's about it. Unless there's anything. Yeah. This is a long one today, man.
Oh yeah, we got it in. We covered a lot. So
yeah, we did. Awesome.
We'll see what happens. I'll definitely be putting some bets in at some point in some of these games.
100%.
So far doing really well. So these playoff games are going to be fun.
Yeah, let's maybe do another one like midway through the playoffs or something.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was good to talk NBA for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. For more in-depth sports analysis and Brews reviews, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to stay notified of my future content. Till next time, stay thirsty, everyone.